Kia ora everyone, welcome back to the channel. So every year for the last 2 years at the start of the year I have done a complete collection tour where I show every book I own, every page I've ever coloured, and all my work in progress pages. And I love these videos because I love to look back on it. I love to look at how my collection has grown and changed year to year, and I actually love seeing everyone else's version of this video too. So as much as this is a massive video to film, it is a really fun and interesting video to look back on. And I have a playlist of complete collection tour videos that I will link down below and up here in the corner for you if you want to go back and watch 2023 and 2024's collection videos. But we're in 2025, so it's time to start our 2025 version. So this year I'm going to split up into artists if I have enough of one artist, or assorted publishers, or I've got a few collections. Some of them are going to be a bit random, but we're going to split it up that way. Last year I just did it via shelf, but because so many of my books are now worked, this is going to take a while to get through. So we're going to split it up that way. And in true tradition, we're going to start with my favorite illustrator, Kerby Rosanes. I love Kerby's work. I have every book that Kerby has put out, including all the collection books and all that sort of stuff. So it's going to take a while. This is quite a big video and I don't mind because I love going through it. So I hope you enjoy. So we'll start with Kerby's books. I have kind of tried to put them a little bit into publication order. So yeah, we'll get through it bit by bit. But of course the oldest Kerby I have is Doodle Invasion. So I have done one page in here. This was a second-hand book that I brought. I brought it from a local person second-hand, so it does have a couple of pages that have been started in here that aren't my colouring. For example, this one here is beautiful colouring though, so I'm pretty sure it's polychromos, so I can probably carry on with it and make it work. But I have done this page here, this turtle page. And so this was done with alcohol markers. Yeah, alcohol markers. And then shaded on top with, I think, polychromos pencils, maybe some Pablos. And then a little bit of Posca to re-darken up some of the eyes and bring in some white and a little bit of pink on the cheeks and things like that. It's pretty straightforward. I did think about potentially colouring or blocking out this background to make the colours pop even more, but I'm actually quite happy with it as is. So yeah, that is the only page I've managed to get done in here so far, but I would like to get a couple more done. It is, like, I quite like Kerby's doodles, so I think they're quite fun for some mindless colouring every once in a while. So yeah. Right, the next book I have is Imagimorphia. And I think I've only done one in this one as well. Because I had such a focus in 2024 of working my shelf, a lot of my books just have the one page done. Yes, just the one page, which is this whales page. Now this page is similar to this sort of crocodile page where it's designed that you fill in the page with your own patterns, but I don't want to do that. So in the background I used watercolor and some ink sprays and some inks, but I did forget to gesso the page, which is a big no-no. So future Amy has some cleanup. It's workable though. I'll just do a blue-green theme for this one. It's workable. So yeah, I did the background first where I did all these sprays and stuff, and then what I did was I used baking paper to trace each of the whale shapes, and I pulled out some scrapbooking cards and traced the shapes transferred the shapes that I traced onto the card and cut them out in different papers and layered it up, and then I went around the edges with a bit of an ink pen just to help clean up some of these edges. And yeah, it's really straightforward, but I do really like how it came together. I'm still kind of tempted to cover the whole thing in Mod Podge Extreme Glitter because I feel like it just needs glitter, but I always feel like these things need glitter, so yeah, I'm a little bit biased on the glitter front, but yeah, it was just really fun. Sometimes it's fun to do a little bit of collage, and yeah, I would like to do some more in Animorphia. I feel like this book has a lot of potential for a lot more collage type pages. I know a couple of people have got this as their challenge book to try and do some collage techniques in, and I feel like it would be a good book to do that. The next one I have is Imagimorphia, and I think it's just the one. Yeah, just the one, which is this tiger page here. Now, I can't really say a lot about it because there's not a lot to it. This was a very simple colouring page. I just simply coloured in the tiger using some ink tints. And then for, this was again another one where you could like do doodles in the black. And I just went over it with black acrylic paint. I feel like a lot of people have done this with this page. So there's not really a lot that's unique or special or interesting about this. I could have done much more, but at the time, it was what I wanted to do. I wanted to play around with some ink tints. I played around with some ink tints. I do kind of want to go over the background again because it's got like a funny texture to it. But yeah, maybe when I come in here and do this half, something from this half might inspire me to come back onto this half. Like, I feel like I'm probably going to do some gold or something in here, so maybe something of that will pull over to here. Might pull the oranges and yellows over here and have that pop of black, and something across these two may inspire me. So I considered it done, but I'm also aware I may go in and add more to this page eventually. So that is Imagimorphia. Our next book is Mythomorphia, and this book, if you've not seen my Mythomorphia, is one of my most completed books. It's definitely my most completed Kerby. It is falling apart at this point because I have loved this book so much, and I am very close to getting this finished. I'm not pushing myself to finish it, but I can see myself finishing it in 2025 potentially. Sorry, just having a cup of coffee. So let's get into this. So I have not done this first page, but this is a reprint of a later on page, so may or may not get to it. Probably will just to complete the book. We have the This Book Belongs To page, which I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have got no ideas, so this one's definitely one that I'm putting off. And then we have the copyright information page. And this one was actually a bit of an experiment that actually inspired a whole new love affair of a new technique. So this page, again, this border is repeated later on in the book, and it did not inspire me because it's leaves. And that was just like, So I was thinking about what I could do to fill out the page, and I had a whole bunch of Liquitex acrylic inks. I was like, I could do some sort of watery abstract background and just shade in with black and white. And so I applied 2 coats of Liquitex clear gesso to the page, and then I dropped a bunch of the inks on and merged them and splattered them and played to create an abstract filled background. And then originally I was going to use pencils to shade the leaves, but I realized the texture was too rough on them. So instead I used the ink themselves to just deepen some areas and add in some white highlights to some areas. Really simple shading and a little bit of an iridescent paint on the bugs and Kerby's little signature and stuff like that. So yeah, when I had finished the page, it's like, I really love this technique. And that inspired this whole new pathway of me playing with inks and trying different inks. And you'll see several pages where I use ink in this book. I really, really enjoy it. And because I use the Liquitex clear acrylic gesso, it hasn't been any bleed through. There's a little bit of like transfer on the edges where I didn't seal down the edges very well, but the actual page didn't bleed through at all. So it's brilliant and I really enjoy it. Right, the next one that we have is the Hydra. This one was done in 2023 as part of a charity stream. I streamed for 12 hours. I thought I would get so much colouring done during that stream, and then people kept on donating and were just so generous and raising money for mental health, and it just kind of broke me. So I only got like the basing done of it, but we came back and eventually kept on colouring it. So I believe I use polychromos. Yeah, polychromos for all the shading. It is based in, I don't think it was Inktense. I think it was actually like a water-soluble crayon that I based it in. And then there's definitely some white paint splatter and some stickles stippled on top to create all this water effect. So like all this foamy water. And of course stickles up here too. I use a lot of glitter in this book. I like glitter. Yeah, I love the pop of the bright dragon against the, of a Hydra against the dark sky there. So I have this, I think it's a griffin. I haven't coloured this one yet, so that's on the to-do list. So this is another one of the ink technique pages. This one I did in 2024 for Mermaid, and I just love it. I love how these turn out. So I've had a lot more practice since then, and I feel a lot more confident in my inks. So as well as that abstract background, I'm a lot better at shading with the inks and just adding in different elements. So yeah, a whole thing's been done with Liquitex acrylic inks, as well as a little bit of Kaisercraft Gold shimmer spray, and there's a little bit of stickles just stippled into the background at certain points. Just a small touch of glitter, not much, but it does add a little bit of sparkle and shine to the page. Yeah, I really, really like how this came together, this one. Have my deer here. Now, this one was me trying to do a more pastel themed page. Pastels are actually really hard for me to do. I am not someone who's particularly inclined to work light. I definitely like my bold, vivid colors, but I tried. So this one actually uses chalk pastel in the background. It's one of the very few chalk pastel pages that I've done. I don't like the texture of the background. I also wish I had done it more intensely so that the light rays would be clearer. But I do like the color palette, and I really like the little highlights and color reflex I got onto the white deer here. This is done in Prismacolor. I believe the rest of it is done in Polychromos, so, but I specifically remember doing the deer in Prismacolor. And of course, stickles. Yeah, I would quite like to do this one again, which I do have the opportunity in all my books, but do it in a more intense and show that more intense shading that I was imagining. The Rainbow Gnomes page. This one was a lot of fun. A lot of me trying different things out and also really liking it. In a lot of different media. Sorry, I'm just drinking a cup of coffee. I was doing a Tim Tam slam before I started recording, and I dropped my Tim Tam into the coffee. And so there's just bits of Tim Tam floating in my coffee now. It's okay. It still tastes good. Anyway, so for this one here, the background is black acrylic paint, and then I used some paint sticks in like a metallic and applied that in, and then used my finger to sort of push it up, and a little bit of Posca along the edges to sort of clean up and create a sharper highlight edges. It was me playing around with an Aurora Borealis effect, so it's a little bit of iridescent shimmer in the background. And then for the foreground, for all the gnomes, everything is based in Inktense with the exception of some of the gnomes' skin, because I didn't quite have enough colours. So for some of the gnomes, I used the Crayola Colours of the World set, and I coloured on a piece of glass and picked it up with a water brush to layer in that colour. And then I shaded with Polychromos pencils for all the elements. For the mushrooms, I used the Inktense, and then I used white gouache to do all the sort of highlighting and effects on the mushrooms, and then covered everything very thickly in a layer of stickles. So rainbow glitter mushrooms. And yeah, it is rainbow and bright and colourful and ridiculous, but I kind of love it. There's a lot going on, but it's cool as well. Sometimes you just got to go where the colouring inspires you at the time. Right, so I have 2 pages here. So the green man is once again my ink technique, and this was actually my first ever YouTube live. This was part of a collab in 2023, which was called 2 Weeks of Kerby, and I was invited to take part in live stream on YouTube. Sorry, I used to only live stream on Twitch then. I now dual stream on both platforms at the same time. But this was my first ever YouTube live, and I knew I had only 2 hours to stream, and I was used to streaming for like 4+ hours. So I knew I only had 2 hours, and I was like, I wonder if I could complete a page in 2 hours. And so that's why I decided to do this ink technique and work on this page here. So yeah, I am literally go during the live stream as I work this page, but we completed it in 2 hours, which is pretty darn cool. So it is the Liquitex acrylic ink in the background, plus some Kaisercraft shimmer sprays as well, and then a little bit of stickles on the wings as well. Yeah, I do like how it came together. I only shaded around the center of this, like I kind of ignored around here, but I feel like it works because it draws your eye in to this face in the leaves. And then for the jackalope here, this was me trying the same technique but in watercolor. So again, it's got the Liquitex clear acrylic gesso in the background, but this time instead of dripping in my Liquitex acrylic inks, I dropped in Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolors. And it produces a slightly different effect, and I kind of like it. I love how loose it is, but I would probably want to bring in more detail to the actual elements in the front. I have a little bit more skill with watercolor now, so I feel like I could shade and bring in more detail, but at the time that was about the extent of what I could do, and I was happy with it. Like, I'm still kind of happy with it. I love the looseness of it. I don't often work loose, and this is very loose for me. So even like the highlighting that I did, I went and did it really loosely because I was just trying to keep that light and that movement and the sort of lift that the watercolor had created. So yeah, I do still like it. Like, it was very experimental, but I like how it's working. And of course, stickles on the butterflies. Almost every page has glitter in this book, and if it doesn't have glitter, it probably is something shimmery. Right, we have my Pegasus page. This is a very old one. I think I did this one in 2020. No, 2022. Oh my gosh, I even dated it. I don't date my pages anymore, but there's a tiny little date in there. I should date it. I just don't like writing on the image. Like, I don't know. I have a thing about it. If it has a clear border, it's easier to write. But like this, like I've tucked it in there, but I don't like it. So yeah, this is done on the 30th of May 2022, which makes sense. I don't know why I was thinking it was 2020. That was when my hands were awful. So no, 2022 is more appropriate. But yes, this one has been coloured with, I used water-soluble crayons as the base. Sorry, there's a little something there. Yeah, water-soluble crayons is the base. I believe this is when I got my first Neo colors, because these are the 4 colors of Neo colors that I have. So I think this one is Neo color, and then these are just water-soluble crayons. And then I used Prismacolor to shade in the Pegasus, as well as stickles for the moons and all the stars, and like a little touch in this little ball here. And I was really, really proud at the time of my color reflex. So if you look carefully at the Pegasus, there's like a little bit of light blue in certain areas as it reflects the clouds, and yellow in the wings here. Now I would do this a lot more intensely now. Like, this is incredibly pastel for me. I work so bright now. I'm amazed at how pastel I got these Pegasus. Yeah, I really, really like it. I still really like the spread, even if it is an older one. And I did way too many Posca stars in the sky, but I like it. All right, the dragon. I love this spread still. I still think this one is fabulous. It took me so, so long. This was a buddy color with coloring Bumblebee, Jess, and I took so long to complete this page. I remember feeling really bad about how long it was taking me, but knowing that it was taking me so long because I was being so pedantic about shading all the little scales and all these bits and pieces. And once it was done, I was just like, ah, I loved it. It was worth it. So yeah, once again, I based in water-soluble crayons. I can't remember the brand name, but they're not a particular brand, not any sort of good brand. They're really old water-soluble crayons. That's what I used to use before I got my ink tints to base. And then lots and lots of polychromos for shading, a bit of Posca highlighting like on all the scales and like the cherry blossom leaves. There is a bit of gold Liquitex acrylic ink for all the gold elements on the page, and a bunch of glitter painted into the sky. So the purple also has glitter reflect, which is fun. And yeah, it's just a fun combo. This red, pink, yellow, and purple. Like, I really liked how it came together. Very busy page, but really, really happy with it. Oh, don't forget to put the baking paper back. Right, so I still have this one to colour, but I have coloured the other side, and this is my forest tree gnome creature. So for this one, I actually drew in this foresty tree background. It came with no background, but I wanted to add in that tree forest. And I did all that with ink tints and a little bit of Faber-Castell Albert Duras as well, but primarily ink tints. And the actual gnome at the front is all based with ink tints with some polychromos shading on top. I did pull out a Prisma to go around the edge of this lantern to just create that sort of foggy glow light. And I really loved my rainbow mushrooms. Like, that was the main thing that I was doing, was rainbow mushrooms, and my little trans flag pride snail down here, pink, blue, and white, with the little bit of glitter. There's a little bit of hidden glitter on the page. But yeah, I really like this one. This one's still one of my favorites of the book. Right, we have the, I think it's a Chimera. I haven't done that one yet. We have the Kraken. Now this Kraken, I did like I think it was March Mythomorphia Madness was the hashtag in 2023, where I did like 12 different Kerby spreads. It was a massive, ridiculous month. And a lot of the Kerby pages I did were water pages as well, because I was really inspired to do the water pages. And in a lot of them, I just did a really plain, boring, gradiated sky. Now I look at this and I'm like, I could have done so much more with the sky than just a gradient. Not even a very good gradient. At the time, it's what I did. It's okay. It's part of the journey. Now I look at this and go, this is such wasted potential. You could have done so much up here. Now I would add in more. At the time, it's what I did. Will say though, still really love my pink Kraken. And then the other thing with this page that I did was I was experimenting with different ways to do the foam on top of the water. So in this one, I used an acrylic white paint, but it was more wet and liquidy, and you can see that these little trails everywhere as the paint sort of dribbled. So I sort of stippled it in, but then let it dribble everywhere, and because it was more liquidy, my stippling wasn't as dry. So, and then I did stipple some glitter on top as well. It's not my favorite in terms of water technique. It does like look really soft and fluffy, but there's better ways that I've done water techniques. So yeah, but I learned a lot from it, and that's the point. These also some Liquitex gold acrylic ink. Most of the time when I use gold, it's Liquitex gold acrylic ink. I really like the iridescent bright gold in it, so it's really bright warm gold. But yeah, for the shading, it is once again based in the water-soluble crayons, polychromos for shading, Posca to do all the highlighting. It's a very common combo. It's a water-soluble base medium, polychromos shading, glitter for sparkles, and a paint pen for highlights. It's kind of a very common formula for me. Right, we have the, I believe it's called a Baku. This one, yeah. This one I am not happy with. It was one of those pages where I was just kind of blocked and I just sped to finish a page. There's a couple of pages in here like this where I'm just not happy with it, and I just was like, whatever, finish a page, be done. Now I look at this, I know that background needs more coat, I need more shading, I need more layers. It has been done entirely with Inktense, and I can work on a page directly with Inktense. I don't have to shade on top, but I just look at this and I go, this could have been so much better. So I kind of hope the Baku appears in another page so that I can do it again. But yeah, is what it is. I got it done. Sometimes with a page, for me, it's also just about the block of the page, and I just need to complete it to a point where I'm okay to call it done so I can move on. And that was definitely the case here. Not every page is going to be your favorite. I like this one a lot more. This is definitely another older one. Look, I even have a date on this one. Yep, 2022. And this one actually uses the Inktense as well. This is when I first started getting Inktense, and I didn't have many colors, but I had a couple. And I didn't often shade with green, I noticed. So I did this primarily to shade with greens and gold. And yeah, I actually really like it. So yeah, the background is done in Inktense. It was one of my first experiments with Inktense. And then in the actual Sandman, I used, I want to say it's polychromos, but that actually looks like Prismacolor. So it might be the both of them, to be perfectly honest. And then there is a gold paint pen by Deco Art that I did all the gold stars with. White Posca to go around all the crystals. And the background has a coat of just a cheap glitter gel paint as well on the background. But yeah, I really like this one still. Hey, this is another one that I am very glad that I'm going to get the opportunity to redo, because it did not come out how I intended. So I started this one with the intention of making this side cool and this side warm and having the two halves meet. So it was like summer and winter merging, and it was going to be blended in the middle, and I had this plan. It was going to go really, really cool. Then I started working in the background, and I obviously entirely forgot the plan and just did this yellow warm background. So now it's all like a yellow background and warm, and I was like, okay, well, that's all right. I can still do my cool versus warm. So I started shading that in with the Inktense, and then I added a little bit of polychromos for shading. And I was going to use a yellow paint pen to like start highlighting in all the edges, but my paint pen ran out partway through, and for several months I could not find a yellow paint pen. So I was trying my best to make it work for as much as I could, but it really was not working. And oh god, what else went wrong on the page? There's quite a few things that went wrong, and in the end I was just like, okay, I'm happy with it to a point. Like, I'm happy with the tones that I got in here. It's never going to be exactly what I want because I can't fix up that background and add in the cooler elements. So I was just like, you know what? Let's just call this one done for the day. And then we'll try again to produce that vision how I actually intended it. We also got some splatter through from the other side. There were lots of things that just kept on going wrong on the page. And I was like, okay, it is what it is. So, yeah. Could have been better. Hopefully attempt 2 will be much better. But, hey, not every page is going to be perfect. And I learned a lot along the way. And now we have my kitsune. And here's an example of me working only with Inktense and actually liking what I produce. And this is where, like, that previous page was me primarily working with Inktense and just shading with the Inktense. And it's helped me get to this point now where I'm a lot more confident in working just with the Inktense and actually producing those values and tones. So that's why I don't mind some of those, like, not as effective pages, because I learned so much along the way. I really hope my mic is not picking up all the chainsawing that's going on outside my window. Fingers crossed. So yes, as I said, this one is Inktense. It is pretty much all done in Inktense. I don't think I actually ended up using any polychromos for shading. No, I lie. I did pull out a yellow to do all the little highlights. And then I used Mod Podge Extreme Glitter on the background, because glitter... I don't even think I used any Posca in this one. Yeah, no, just Inktense and Extreme Glitter and a little bit of yellow. But yeah, I really like how it came together. I was really proud of how I got so many tones in that kitsune with just the one Inktense color. So I still have this orc to do, but I also have this one here. This is another older one. And this is my first time trying to put a background in, and I was really proud of this background. So that one is, I don't think I had the Inktense at the time. I think that one was Albert Dura's and Polychromos pencils. And then the whole thing was shaded with Polychromos. I believed I used the crayon base again, the water-soluble crayon base. And then I did use a bit of white Prisma around each of the little fae, which to create that little bit of a glow, and then used a paint pen to block out the shape of the fae and added all the glitter on top. Yeah, I still really like this one. Again, it's a very limited color palette, but it's effective. All right, the Snow Queen. So this big double page spread, I like and I don't like. For a while there, I used to say this was my least favorite one in the book. I think I've got some more least favorite ones in this one now. I love how it's colored. I love how I approached the page. The mistake was adding the yellow, because I started by coloring in the snow and the sky using a mixture of the water-soluble crayons and Prismacolor to color everything in, and then lots and lots of Posca to add all these snow on the tree and the edge highlights, and coloring in the Yetis with all the different colors in them and all these little creatures. And I was loving how it progressed, but I still had the birds and this little glove thing here, and I was trying to figure out what color I should do for the birds. I was like, well, you know what goes good with blue and pink is yellow. Like, blue and yellow are really lovely combos together. Pink and yellow is good together, and it would add in a pop of yellow, and I could add in some yellow stars to help bring it around. And so I added the yellow. The problem is everything is so cool on this page because it's blues. The pink has got that purple tone, so it's cooler. The greens are all cool. Even the little bit of brown that I added to the trunk of the trees and a little bit of brown that's in the walls, it's still a cooler tone. And then we have these bright yellow pops, and they're so warm that your eye is drawn to the yellow. And I added that in. I was like, this is the wrong color. I should have done like maybe a dark blue would have been more effective, like, or something in that cooler tone, even like a mint green or a pastel purple or something cooler, and it would have tied it all together and it would have not made the focus be on the birds. The focus should be on her. So I did that and I was like, oh crap, I have ruined this page. And so one of my rules is, if in doubt, glitter it out. So I was like, screw it, let's just add piles of glitter. And I mean literal piles. So not only is the entire thing covered in a glitter gel, I then took loose glitter and added literal piles of loose glitter everywhere. So it is beautiful and sparkly, and yeah, I love how I colored the snow. I love how I did a lot of it, but just choosing that yellow was the wrong color. That's okay. I learned a lesson now. You know, plan your color palettes. Think about how a certain color may pop with other colors. Alright, this one, we may get some shine reflect, but I do love this one. This was a recent finish off. It's got lots of pencil bloom, so it's not the clearest to pick out, but hopefully it's not too bad. The Ashbladone, I think it's what it's called. This was a buddy cutter with Cindy that was finished off quite recently. We've been working to try and get as much of Mythomorphia done as we can manage before Dark Fairy Tales gets released in 2025. So we've been doing quite a few pages in here recently, which has been really, really wonderful. And yeah, I really love how this one came together. I added in these little torch lights at the top here because I saw that the little person here had a lantern. So I knew that would be a light source. I knew the moon would be a light source, but then it's like, there's no light over here then if I really wanted to do a dark nighttime scene. So I added in the little lantern so it would have that little pop of color. And I really loved what I did down here. Because I actually just ended up sort of blocking out all the coral and the shapes and just coloring it really dark and pulling out a couple of highlights to indicate the shapes. I like how that worked. I also really like the fact that the water helped with the texture, because of course the backside of this is covered in glitter, so there's a lot of texture, but in here it just looks like bubbles. So it works really well. Kind of hid the texture. So this is a mixture of Inktense base, Polychromos and Pablo pencils for shading, and of course stickles for the moon because glitter, and Posca highlighting all along the edge of the water there. And yeah, I really like how this one came together. The extreme lighting is a lot of fun. Underwater World. Oh my gosh, this one was a lot. This one was a lot, but I still love this one. And again, there are a few things now that I've learned along the way that would mean I would approach things differently. But at the time, I was so proud of this one being done. And I still really love it. So one of the things that I know now is about edge highlighting. I dabbled in it here. You can see everything has a little bit of a blue glow. But like down here, this blue glow is the same as the blue glow up here. No, it should be more of a dark, ominous glow from this cave, whereas up here it should actually be more pinks and oranges and stuff like that. So there's things like that that I understand a little bit more now, but that's what you learn along the way, and I love how colourful and bright it is. I also started this page and I had someone, because I was doing this one on live stream, and I had a friend of mine say, hey, instead of just doing a blue gradiating line up, could you do the sun setting on the ocean? And I was like, I probably could. So we did some Googling and I was like, you know what? I quite like the effect of that. So I added in that as well. It was a lot of work, but love how it came together. And of course our little touch of stickles, paint pen for all the bubbles, and the actual page has been coloured with Prismacolor coloured pencils. The wolf spread. So once again, this one was based in the water-soluble crayons, and then I used Prismacolor to shade this all in. And I did add in those color reflects. This is another one where I was kind of learning about light and how light is reflected. So it's not quite 100%, but I was, and I still love the little edge highlights of the little pops of yellow and purple. And then when I was coloring it in, this, I believe this was after the snow disaster, possibly, maybe not. But I was trying to figure out what color to do for the birds. This time it works because I added in the red for the mouth. So this helps tone the red of the mouth, but it's also not a distracting color. If I had done yellow over here, I think that would have been too much yellow. And I like the little pops of yellow here, more towards the moon. And then we get to the side and it's more of the purple. So the red was the right choice here. So yeah, Prismacolor, water-soluble crayon base, and of course stickles all over the moon. I don't think I used any Prismacolor in this one. I think oh no, there's a little dot of it on the eye there. Not Prismacolor, Posca. There's too many products that begin with P. Have you noticed this? Polychromos pencils, Pablo pencils, Prismacolor pencils, Posca Pack pens. Like, that's too many P's. Right, we have the Centaur. Now, this one I did this one quite, I think it was like early 2023 I did this one, because it kind of reminded me of a star sign. So I took my Liquitex acrylic inks and blocked out the background of it and used the gesso and the inks to do that abstracty background. And then I pulled out my Posca paint pens and I went over all the lines and added in some stars and of course some glitter gel on top so it's all sparkly, because it kind of looked like it could be a star sign to me. And I did all this and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. I like it. And then that white line trend happened and I was like, huh, okay, cool. Now, I don't want to say I'm taking credit for it, because no, I don't even think I posted this on Instagram or anything like that. No, nothing along those lines. It was just really funny to me that like 6 months later that became a massive trend. It's like, huh, yeah, I've done that. I like it. But it was cool to see it become a trend because it's a really fun technique. And I know a lot of people use like watercolors and different things in the background than the acrylic inks I did. Definitely easier to not have a gesso base for it because your Poscas will get chewed up if you choose to do a Posca outline. I also glittered before I did the Posca, so I had even more texture to work over. But I would like to do this again, but with even darker backgrounds, because I was keeping it kind of light because I was worried about blocking out the lines, but by going darker you would see more of those white lines. So yeah, I do want to do this again. I really like how this one turned out though, for being so simple. I mean, it was a lot of line work, but for being just so simple, it's really effective. So we have our dragons, and I think so many people have done this thing of water and fire because they are water and fire dragons. It's blue, it's red. I coloured the elements on this page in red. I coloured the elements on this page blue that weren't the dragons. Like, I can't sit here and pretend that this is original because I know a lot of us have done it this way. So yeah, based in water-soluble crayons, worked over top with polychromos pencils. I did use stickles in the black diamond for the background. I used basically a whole bottle of it, but oh my god, I love it. I did that because I was like, maybe they're in like their treasure hoard cave and it's all the sparkly bits around it. But yeah, I like it. Not entirely the most original thing in the world I've done, but I still like it. I would like to kind of maybe do it again. Maybe have the fire reflecting onto the water, have the water reflecting onto the fire or something. Like that could be quite fun to do. I know this is in another book, so again, I have another chance to do it. Have not done the Sphinx yet. Oh, no. Now this page is the reason why these are on every page in the book. A big reason why I've started protecting my pages, because this page, oh my god, this was almost a disaster that cost me the book. So when I first started coloring this page, I used some cheap no-name pencils that I was trying out on the back of this creature. I was like, oh, they're okay, they're not great, but whatever. And I had the idea of maybe this creature was flying through space. So I blacked out around the creature, and then I used some of this Deco Art Enchanted Shimmer on top. And it is quite a neat little topper. It has a bit of a iridescent shine on it. But as you can see on the gold, if you apply this too thickly, it piles up and turns white. Now, I didn't know this because this was my first time using the medium. So I piled it on in the background, and like I have it in pink and purple and blue and the white and a green. So I did those sort of colors and just piled it on the background. It was like, oh, this is going to look so cool and so pretty. And then it dried, and I had these big areas where it was just mica piled up and it was white. And I was like, oh, that wasn't really what I was going for. I'll just put this away for now, and then I'll think about it later. So I closed the book, put it on my shelf, happened to be going away. So I went away for a couple of months, and it was sitting closed on the shelf after like the topper had dried. Anyway, came back from holiday, pulled it off the shelf because I was like, okay, I'll have a look at it, see if I can figure something out. Went to open the book, and the pages were stuck together. Now, luckily, because my book is falling apart, I could reach my hand in here where this creature was, where there was no iridescent shimmer. I could reach my hand in and use that to force the pages to separate. But in doing so, it teared up the background and caused all this ripping. And I was like, oh dear God, have I just ruined Mythomorphia, this book that I have done so much in? And so I put one of these in between to stop any more damage, and then left it for ages and ages and ages. And this was in 2023, one of two things that caused me to stop my push to try and complete the book in 2023, because I was like, nah. So then in 2024, I came back to it and was like, okay, I've got an idea. Let's fix this up. And so that's where I started collaging. So I used some tissue paper that I have in the background, which I layered over the ripped up, damaged background, and then used some like acrylic paint around the edges to sort of blend it in. And I added in some cutouts and different like scrapbooking elements and a bunch of gold shimmer sprays and not iridescent, I added Mod Podge Extreme glitter over the whole top, so it's like really well sealed down. And yeah, I really do like how it came together. It wasn't how I imagined it to begin with, but I love how I saved it. So yeah, I really like how this one came together. Could have been so much worse. Why do I have two protection sheets? Where did I forget to put one back in? Ah, the turtle. It's like, hang on, we got two of these. As I do completed pages, I will also, after I finish a section of books, then be going in and adding in any baking paper I need to add to books where I don't have a protection sheet. Right, the Minotaur, or the Trans-Minotaur as we actually call them. So this one here, I was showing a couple of friends of mine this book and showing them this page and being like, this is what I want to work on. And I'm kind of thinking of doing some like neon lighting. And they were like, you know, with the way that the shirt is exposed, that one you could almost do like it's a trans Minotaur and do top surgery scars. I was like, I like that concept. And so that's what we did. We actually added in a couple of scars here. This is a specific type of top surgery. And then I used pink and blue neon lighting coming in from the side to represent the trans colors. So the blue and the pink coming in on the side, and then the center is to represent the white. And so I left the rose white and added a little bit of stickles on top in the color Twinkle, which is a blue and pink reflect. So it worked out really, really perfectly, and I love how it came together. I love that neon lighting on each side. The background itself is, I think it's actually like an ink that I used. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an ink, but I really love how this one came together. And it's a bit of a love letter to all my amazing trans friends that I have, because I have many wonderful trans friends in my life, and it was lovely to do a little page to celebrate them. Right, we have the, not Medusa, Gorgon. This is another slightly older one from 2022. This one now, when I look back on it, like, I know I would add in some Posca highlightings for all these scales and things like that, things that you learn along the way. But at the time, so proud of it. Still love the colors that I chose, like these oil slick snakes with the shading and the pink in the highlight areas into the dark teal, like pink, purple, blue, teal. Such an interesting color combo that I chose there, and I really like it. So the whole thing has been shaded with polychromos pencils. I know I use some Albert Duras to work on her as well, and stickles, of course, for like the eyes and this background, and the playing card that was hidden in there as well. Yeah, still really love how she came together. And then we have this little friend here. So for this one, I had a very specific vision of a really dark tree, and how this little fae was this creature's only friend and was going to be lighting him up. So that's why I wanted to go really dark with this. Now, if I was to actually have proper lighting, the edges of these leaves should be darker, and it should have more of a vignette into the center with this being brighter. So I should actually darken around the edge of the tree a bit more, because the tree is actually kind of similarly lit. So yeah, but I'm still really happy with it. I love the shading I got on the face and the way that he's illuminated by this little fae, and the little bits and pieces of the bright highlights that I got, and the little owl down here. So yeah, this has got, I actually used some Indian ink in the background just because I had some, so I was like, all right, I'll just use that up for the background, and then layered some pencils on top to make it even darker, polychromos pencils. Again, I think I used Inktense to base and then polychromos on top to shade. This bronzy shadowing for the patterns on him is all Liquitex acrylic ink in the iridescent rich bronze, and of course stickles, because stickles. They're still going to do the Kirin. We have my Yeti. This is the most recently completed page in here. And this one uses a bunch of watercolor to go from like pink to blue, a whole bunch of iridescent watercolor and iridescent acrylic paints, Prismacolor to shade, Liquitex acrylic inks to add an even more splatter, as well as Mod Podge Extreme glitter, because I wanted it to look like this Yeti was in a blizzard and be very light and ethereal, like you're looking through a cloudy blizzard and it's like, are you seeing this Yeti? Are you not? Sort of like that dangerous moment of, oh crap, there's something there. So yeah, I really do like how it came together. Love how shimmery it is. And then I've still got to do the Anubis. Still got to do the Basilisk. Still got to do this spider. This is probably the biggest section of to be done. And we have this one here. Can't remember what this one is. Maybe this is a Basilisk. Cannot remember. This one I started with such an intense plan of the yellow in the background and the lighting. Love how the lighting worked. Love how the stones looked. And then it got to the snake and I was like, I don't know what to do for color. Let's just do green. So I did green, and then I was like, I don't really want to introduce another color. So I just did the yellow for the body, and of course all the glitter for the clothes. I should have blended the highlights here a bit more. The Posca is a bit intense, and that's what I've realized now, is that the Posca is not blended. It's too sharp of a highlight. It's something that I've started realizing recently, and I now blend a lot more of my Posca highlights out, so it's not as like a crisp, sharp line highlight. And that was what was upsetting me about it at the time, but I couldn't understand what it was at the time that just did not work for me. So now I know, but at the time I was like, but yeah, I do like how I did the stonework. Like the background part, I like her, especially her face, not so much, but that's okay. Again, we learned from it. Still got to do the food dog. That's actually on the plans for this month. Then we have my gnomes. I love actually how this one turned out. Is it gnomes or is it goblins? I think it's goblins. So this one I was stuck on for a long time, and then I had the idea, well, they look like they're sneaking out at night to have a fight or something, you know, maybe a battle of honor or show how awesome they are. It's like, so I could do it all night times and do it all purple, but maybe they're doing it under like a certain moon or something, and that idea of the yellow and the purple just came together, and I was like, yes. And so this entire thing has been done with Inktense, and I love how it turned out. I love that yellow to purple contrast. Now, again, I can look at this and I can see a couple of things. I learned a couple of things along the way. First off, I did this half first, and then I did this half. Should have done this both halves at the same time, because this side, like the yellows are a bit different, but maybe this one's just actually a bit closer to the moon or something like that, or getting more direct light than this one. So we'll just pretend that. I also did the black acrylic paint of the background last, which made the black around here not appear as dark. So maybe next time add a little bit of a wash around the outside, so that that really darkens down those edges and makes the black appear more consistent. And maybe I should put a couple of stars in there, but meh. I like it. I like it as is. And yeah, this one actually ended up in my favorites for 2024 because I really do like the pop of color. And this is one where I actually need to add in some baking paper as well. Okay, we're getting there. There's still more of this book to go. Told you, this is my most completed Kerby book. So we have the Fantastical Forest. This one was all about the green glowing mushrooms. I just really wanted to do some neon green mushrooms and play with the highlight effects of them, so you can see all around these lots of areas where it's glowing green because of the green of the mushrooms. I also did the same thing on the face. I wanted to create this magic little portal in this tree and really focus on doing some highlights on the tree. So yeah, I do really like how it came together. Even like the windows have a glow. A lot of glow effects I was playing with on this one. So this one, based in the water-soluble crayons, Prismacolor to shade, lots of Posca, iridescent bright gold Liquitex acrylic ink, and then a glitter glue in the back. Now this is where I screwed up, because on this side I was keeping all my brush strokes consistent one way. This side I did it all swirly. Again, I did it in two halves. Should have done it all at the same time. But yeah, the around here, it's really, you can see all the directions of the brush stroke, whereas here I was really trying to keep it consistent. So that's the only thing I was like, damn it, should have kept it consistent. But that's okay. Still really like it. I think this one's a cockatrice that I still got to do. Still got to do him. But we have the siren here. So this one was another Liquitex acrylic, Liquitex clear gesso page. I started with a bit of the, did I do ink in the background? No, this one is actually water soluble markers. I was trying it out of curiosity, so I used the acrylic ink, the acrylic gesso, clear acrylic gesso, oh my gosh, base, and then I ended up using coloring with Crayola Super Tips onto a piece of glass and picking it up with a water brush and dabbling that all over, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then I tried something else. I put something else on top, and it just caused everything to splatter, and that's how these big light spots appeared, because that's where the water mediums were reactivated, and just went poof. And I was like, uh-oh, how am I going to shade this creature if I can't go in there and add details with more watercolor or more inks? And so I left it for a while, and then I realized, just grab the super tips and color directly on the page. So that's what I did. And I actually really love how this one came together. Yeah, it's got like, it really has that underwater feel with the way that the background has got those light spatches from when I was playing, and the way the colors merged together. Yeah, it was a bit of a happy accident, that one, and I really like it. My Rose Unicorn page. This is another one of the Liquitex acrylic inks experiments, and this one I tried to do, most of the time I do this on water-based pages. So you saw it on Hippocampus Leocampus, saw it on the Siren. There's another Merms page coming up I use it on. I use it a lot on water pages because I feel like it produces great water effects. So this one I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try random colors and go like really graphic. So I did lots of yellows and pinks and purples and blues in the background here. And then I grabbed out my Poscas and I went over the lines, and it's similar to how I did the Centaur, but this time I did it in golds and pinks and greens and blues, and then white. But I also used some white gouache to shade in the body of the horse just that little bit more. And then I was like, this is kind of cool and kind of graphic, let's just go for it. So I pulled out like a star pencil and some iridescent paints and a whole bunch of splatter, and just splattered all over glitter for like the little fae in here. So there's lots of like shimmer, splatter, all sorts of different stuff. It was really just playing and having fun with it. And I really do like it. Like, it's very different. It's very graphic, and, you know, I could have sat here and colored it properly. Again, I know this one's in another book, so I was like, I can do it again. Like, let's just have fun with it and try this out. And yeah, I really like how it came together. Oh, I think this one's actually called the Baku now I think about it. Anyway, this is another one where I said about how I had a month where I just did tons and tons of pages, and it ended up in me doing really simple skies. Another really simple sky one. I was also trying a new technique in the water. So this one I actually dotted in Posca, basically used up an entire Posca doing the water. One of my least favorite waters that I had done, but I do really like this guy. Really like how he's shaded. So like the color choices I made too, like that smoky gray purple, really, really cool, especially with the pop of the red sky. So yeah, I believe water soluble crayons, polychromos pencils, Posca, stickles, the usual combo. All right, these two are some of my least favorites in the book, and part of the reason why in 2023, when I was really pushing and doing a lot in Mythomorphia, I called time on my challenge to complete Mythomorphia in 2023, because I was rushing, and these two pages showed it to me, plus with the disaster of the Griffin page sticking together, I just went, nah, calling time. So for this one, I had a plan originally of like having this green dog thing glowing like an alien, and having like pops of red, and I had all these things planned, and it just did not come together. Like, it's not bad, it's not my worst page in this book, it's just not my favorite. And it's just like, okay, I think it's a ghoul, I think that's what this one is. And I don't know, I don't love it. I would like to try it again and actually produce something that I'm more proud of. It's not bad though. But this one, this one, I started with the Cyclops, and I was fairly happy with the shading on the Cyclops. I was like, okay, that's going well. And that was done with water-soluble crayons and then polychromos pencils. And then I had to do all the chains and the armor, and I was like, cool, let's just grab the Liquitex iridescent ink and the bronze and do it all in bronze. But then because of the fact that the ink is kind of opaque, you lost a lot of the detail. And I know now how to shade on top of this iridescent ink, but back then I did not. So I just grabbed a Posca and went over the outlines, except my hands are terrible, so the outlining job is horrendous. I hate what I did down here, and I just blocked out the background with acrylic paint and went, I hate this page. I was rushing it. I was just trying to get it done, and it was just like, nah, don't like it. So I have done the Cyclop page again. I did that in December of 2024. Much happier with version 2. And that's where I learned, don't rush a page if you're not feeling it. Right, the three-headed dog. I'm Cerberus. That's it. Really like the Cerberus page. And for this one, I used Distress inks in the background. And then Prismacolor to do all the shading. This one has the Liquitex bronze acrylic ink. And I very carefully used some polychromos to deepen the shading on it. So you see, I can shade the ink. And that's what I should have done for the chains on the previous page. I was just rushing it. I also used some Posca highlighting to bring out little details. So yeah, this is one where there isn't a glitter, but because of that iridescent ink, it has got shimmer. But yeah, I really do like this one. This one is actually a color along, not a color along, it's a color and chat on the channel from way back in 2023, where I kind of explain a bit about my health and my history and just where I'm at. So if you're ever curious, way back in 2024, you can find a video about this where I just chat about stuff. Alright, my Merms page. Freaking love this one. This is the one where, like, the ink I was enjoying, but this was the first one when I went, yes, this technique, and take note. So this is the one that really settled me on using this ink technique. So of course, Liquitex clear acrylic gesso for the base, Liquitex acrylic inks with Kaisercraft shimmer spray for the background, and then this is the first time I actually tried shading with the inks to really pop out those details quite a bit. And yeah, I really liked it, and it was so transformative for me because I'd always been someone that was like, I don't like wet media, stick with pencils, stick with pencils, stick with pencils. And then I tried this and I was like, I actually really like this. And just realizing that maybe I did enjoy a certain media, I just had to find a way to enjoy it, freed me up. And since then, like, I dabble in so many different types of media now. I will color and try anything with anything because it's fun. So yeah, but yeah, I still really love this one. One of my favorites in the book. I mean, it's Merms and underwater. It's going to be hard to beat regardless. And then the last page in Mythomorphia is our rainbow dragon. So for this one, I had a specific vision in mind of a really dark dragon with rainbow colorful doodles all around. And this was going to be a pure white. And I had come to visit my mum at the time, and she had just gotten the Dragonfly, I think it's Dragonfly, the extreme glitter. She had like this clear iridescent glitter. I was like, oh, I'll try that, please. And so I put it all over the background, and then I came home to shade in the creatures and stuff, and I was like, oh, the glitter doesn't make it all the way to the edges. There's some really big obvious chunks. I'm going to have to add in more glitter. So I pulled out what I thought was a clear holographic glitter that was made up of just like mixtures of leftover little bits of glitter. Put it on the page and I realized it's not clear. It is colored and it makes the background look a lot more gray. The point was to have a really clear white background so you had that contrast. So yeah, I should have just used stickles. Now I have Mod Podge Extreme Glitter, which would have been perfect. I did not have it back then, but that's okay. So yeah, I used, as I said, piles of different glitters in the background here. And then I used alcohol markers to base on this side because I knew that it went to this side and I didn't care about that side. So I used alcohol markers to base here. And then I actually used water-based markers like Crayolas to base the dragon and this side here so that it wouldn't bleed through. And then Prismacolor pencils to shade all the details. And that is Mythomorphia. So yeah, there's not too many more to go. We are getting very, very close to Mythomorphia being done. But we are nowhere near done with the Kerby Rosanes collection. So the next one I have is Geomorphia. This is one of the single-sided ones. I think I've done a couple on here. No, just the one. Yes, just this one. It's the other one that I was thinking of. So I did this one for Space September in 2024. And I really like this. In fact, this became my most liked Instagram picture of 2024 as well. And so for this one, I used the Derwent Inktense to base, and then Polychromos to shade with a bit of Posca for all the highlighting and the bubbles. Lots of Mod Podge Extreme glitter on that starry night sky. And yeah, it's really simple. You know, it's one of my favorite combos: pink, purple, blue, and white, and glitter. But just simple and effective. And I really like it and had a lot of fun playing with those water reflex now. You can see understanding like shadows and lights a little bit more. So now the reflex down here, they're darker on this side compared to this side where it's getting closer and closer to the surface. So the reflex get lighter as I get closer to the surface, and the pink fades out and comes in from the top and fades out as we go down. So that's the difference between like Waterworld and Mythomorphia, understanding a bit more about the color reflex and things like that. So it's cool to see that progression. So that is Geomorphia by Kerby Rosanes. Then we have Phantomorphia. And I have this page here. Is this the only one in here? It is. I have this page here. I was really surprised. 1 month I just got in the mood to do this, and I wanted to play around with Inktense, and oh my gosh, this bronze worked so well in Inktense. I really loved how it came together. So yeah, I believe I did all Inktense for everything, including the flowers. And then I think it's alcohol marker for the background. It is a bit of alcohol marker for the black. There's a tiny bit of stickles there. But yeah, it was mostly about doing this, playing around with Inktense and seeing if I could pull off a metal effect. And I was really proud of what I achieved. The flowers and the leaves and stuff, like, they could be pushed more, but it was all about the metal. That was mostly what I wanted to focus on, and very happy with it, as you might be able to tell. Pretty sure that's the only one that's in here. It is Phantomorphia. And then I have Wondermorphia, which is Phantomorphia and Geomorphia combined. And I think there's a couple more in here done. There is. So we have the Jellyfish Whirlpool, which was meant to be sort of like a one color challenge, just focusing on trying to produce it with one color. So I based this all with an alcohol marker, which was really dumb because it's just one color across the whole page. I should have used something like a watercolor or a water-soluble crayon instead of a whole alcohol marker, but I did it. And then it's Prismacolor to shade, and it's not Stickles, it's Craftsmart. It was a knockoff Stickles that a friend sent me that is very similar to Stickles, and it had that teal, blue, green reflect in it, and I was like, that'll be perfect. So I use that on all the jellyfish and a bit of Posca for all the light bubbles and highlights. But yeah, I still really like that one. And then I know there's some more in here. There we go. There's our steampunk cat. Really do like this one. I especially really like the background. I think that was one of my first real plays with distress inks, and yeah, I really liked it. And also I got a new set of alcohol markers that I used to base everything, so I was playing around with that, and then I shaded with Polychromos pencils and a bit of Posca for all the highlighting. And for me, it was about really difficult to push myself to use like this browns palette. I didn't used to do a lot of browns. I've done more sort of playing around with this sort of vintagey, steampunky palette now, but back then I hadn't done it a lot, so it was really cool to see. And I remember being very proud when I did finally finish that one. And then we have this one here, which I still absolutely love. So this one I wanted to create sort of like an amethyst or iridescent stone crystal cave, and really just play around with those light reflex of the sun around it. So all these crystals have so many different colors in it, and I remember being so in love with how I finished it. And then I added these bubbles on top so I could add in the stickles and just add a little something more to the page. And then the stickles turned the black grape Prismacolor neon pink, and I was so upset at it. Now I just kind of look at it and go, well, A, learned a lesson. Some Prismacolors activate with stickles. B, it could just be, you know, extra light reflecting in the bubbles. I could have painted it out and then repainted over it or something, but I was like, no, you know what, it's okay. Learned a lesson from it. Check your stickles doesn't activate your Prismacolors, but I still like how it came together. I think that's the last one in there. It is. So that is Wondermorphia. We then have Colormorphia. So this is one of the collation books where they put pages from different books together. And I have done Dino. I really like this Dino page. So this one I used Inktense to base the sky and the big dino, and then I also used some water-based markers like Crayola Super Tips and that to go over the Inktense base to get this really rich vivid color, which is a really good combo, and I need to remember to do it more often, because apart from a little bit of bleed through here, barely any bleed through, and that bleed through came through here because for all these little creatures in here I shaded it just with water-based markers, Crayola Super Tips, things like that. There is no stickles, there is no Posca, there is no metallics. It's very odd for me, but I really like it. I really like that pop of red and that sort of browns and reds and greens palette that I was going for. So very pleased with how this one came together. Especially love the dino and the texture and the dino and the way he looks. So just think it's fabulous. So that is Colormorphia by Kerby Rosanes. And then the last Morphia we have is Kaleidomorphia. And I think it's just the one in here. It is. And that is my pink shark page. Now this one is originally in Imagimorphia. And thank God that I had it in Imagimorphia, because when I first started the page, I had the plan of going in with my Liquitex inks and doing another ink page. But at the time, I didn't have my Liquitex clear gesso. And so I tried a different gesso that I had, and I knew it wasn't clear, but I didn't realize how opaque this gesso was. And when I added the inks on top, you could barely see the lines. Like I could see a little bit up here, and that was about it. I lost all the detail down here. I was like, oh noes. So I decided to just roll with it and make it even darker and add even more splatter into it. And then I photocopied the same page in Imagimorphia and then colored in the photocopy. So that's, I don't know why I did a pink shark, but I still really like that I did pink shark. I can't tell you why I chose pink though, but I love that bright pop. So yeah, the shark, the dolphin, there is also a bunch of coral and stuff down here, which I just colored in black because I knew I wanted it really, really dark down here. And then I started sticking it in. I also printed out a bunch of pictures of different sea creatures like this dolphin. There's another dolphin down here. There is a bunch of turtles. There is some stingray. There's a bunch of jellyfish. Another turtle up there. A bunch of little fish all around. So I cut them out very carefully and started layering them in. And then I used the... stuck them in. And then because I'd used Kaisercraft Shimmer Spray in the dark navy, since I could go dark here because it's usually too dark, when I went to stipple in with the Mod Podge to make sure everything was settled in and, you know, down securely, it actually dragged up some of the shimmer spray because I forgot about the fact that the Kaisercraft Shimmer Spray has to be completely cured before you use Mod Podge, otherwise it reactivates and moves. And I was like, you know what, we'll just rock with it. So I use that to sort of blend up a little bit more and blend in the visibility of certain things. So that's why a lot of the creatures down here are really hard to see. And then I punched out like different pieces of paper in greens and blues and whites and added those in for all the bubbles. And then just to make sure everything was really well down secure, I added a layer of Mod Podge Extreme Glitter. So it's also very glittery. And lots of splatter and lots of shimmer spray and just lots of throwing things at the page. And I freaking love how it came together. It was so much fun. So for being a potential disaster page to being this absolute chaos, huge, huge fun page. And very happy to call that one a completed page. My protection page in here is not cut very well to size. That's okay. Right, and then we start moving on to the World series. So we have Worlds Within Worlds. So I've done a couple in here. So I've done the information page here. I do love this spread. This is my only other chalk pastel spread. I use that in the background here. When I first started this years upon years ago, I don't like it. I don't like the texture of chalk pastel. I don't do it. I did 2 pages of it, never did it again. So yeah, I did the chalk pastel and then I set the chalk pastel and I started coming in here with my pencils, and every once in a while I come in here and I just shade a creature. Like I might just do this, or I might just do the octopus, or just this little creature, or a set of leaves. And so it was just a continual go to, do a bit, walk away, do a bit, walk away. And then in, I think, the start of 2024, I decided to sit down and actually get this page properly finished. So I didn't have much left to do of the frame, just little bits. So I got in there, finished it off, added in the Posca to all the windows to make the windows glow. And then I added in all these little bubbles and outlined them in Posca and filled them in with glitter. And yeah, the pencils is a mixture of Polychromos and Prismacolor pencils. I think there's some jelly roll from when I first started doing some of the bubbles back in the day, but I finished it off with Posca. And yeah, I don't know, I like it. It was definitely a labor of love over many years, but it got there. Another dino page. We have these 2 pages here. So this first one, this crane, I did this to show that you can do a lot with not very expensive pencils. This entire thing has been done with Faber-Castell classic color pencils, the student grade pencils in the, I think I used a 60 set, and the background is done with a Reeves water soluble pastel that I don't have anymore, but that was all the background, just the pastel shaded up. It was all about this one though, to show that you don't have to have the most expensive set to pull off beautiful shading. You can do a lot with them. Now, is it as vibrant as, say, next door where we use Prismacolor? No, but it's still really effective, and I still really like this page. I also used a bunch of stickles on the clouds because glitter. And then next to it, we have the dragon eye, which I feel like this one, don't get me wrong, I love this dragon eye. I love how it came together, and I think it looks really, really cool. I don't think there's anything too inventive about a green dragon, though. But I am very pleased with how it came together, especially with how long this one was a whip. So to get this one done was very satisfying. All right, no, it's the doll's house next. So yeah, here we have the doll's house, which that protection sheet was not quite in the center, and it's, oh no, that's the, I think that's actually a shape up there. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'll look at that later. Mod Podge Extreme Glitter can stick to itself, so that's why we have baking paper. But yeah, this one was another very long work in progress. One day I just came in here and started colouring in the witches in this room here. And then I just did like the unicorn and the fountain in this one here. Not with really real plans. I just came in here and did a little bit. And then I was like, ugh. And then one day I was like, I should probably get in here and finish it. And so I worked out that if I did a certain order of rainbow, then the green and the pink that I already put in there would work, and I could do each colour as its own room. So rainbow has to go red, orange, yellow, green, teal, blue. And it carries on here purple, indigo, or purpley pink, and then pink. So it's like that way, that way, that way. So it's a bit of an odd way, but it is still rainbow order. But yeah, I mostly just wanted to play with each room being its own colour. And yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. And then because the rooms were so colourful, I was like, the actual house will just do grey. We'll keep that really neutral. And then I was struggling about what to do with the background. And so just to keep with the vibes, I just did the black with the rainbow, the Mod Podge Extreme Glitter. And it kind of feels like it's a bit of a disco party room now. Like each of these rooms has like a gel light on it, like it's been tinted by a gel light rather than each room being its color, which is kind of cool to think about. So yeah. All right, and I think that's everything I've done in here. So that's everything in Worlds Within Worlds. And then we have Fragile Worlds. So I have done a title page here. I believe this is just with the water-soluble crayons. I just wanted to play with them one day, and I really like how it came together. It's pretty simple, but yeah, I enjoyed it. And yeah, it was just me playing around with water-soluble media and enjoying the process. I don't always come in and colour the title page, but sometimes I do. And then this one. So we'll start here. So this one, I got gifted a set of Tombow brush markers from a friend of mine who, it was a double for them. So it's the tropical set. And at the time, I didn't actually know how to use Tombows properly, and I knew they were water soluble, so I was playing around with it. Didn't really know how to use them. Really badly bled through these 2 pages, so that's going to be fun to clean up. Yeah, and it was a bit of a disaster. So it had been a whip for a long time on my shelf, and then I was like, nah, we're going to come in here and fix it. So I used Distress inks in the background to create the background, and the Tombow brush markers to base everything. And then when I came back in here, I did another layer of Distress inks over the background because it was quite splotchy. It was one of my first Distress ink backgrounds, and it wasn't great. And not like proper splotchy where I've splotched stuff, but more just hadn't applied it in a good way. And then I went over everything that I based in the Tombows with Prismacolor pencils to do all the shading, and pulled out a Posca to do a couple of highlights like in the eyes and on the beaks. And then I used Kaisercraft shimmer spray in the gold and the shimmery white, and added some more splatter on top as well. And I really like how it came together considering how much it started at. And I mean, yes, I still have quite a bit to fix up. However, for this one, I figured that I can do like a yellow to orange type sunset and lots of like yellow and greens in the trees. I think I can work with this one. And then this one's an underwater one, so very easy. Gesso the background and pull out the acrylic inks, and these colors in here will just add to that abstracty background. So yeah, I can fix those ones up, and I'm really glad that I got this one done. And now I feel a little bit more confident using Tombows than I do back then, or water-based medium markers in general. And then I think there's another one in here. Yeah, this one. So the last one. It is my polar bears. So this one I used, I think, water-based crayons to base again, and then Prismacolor pencils to shade. And I really wanted to play with the Aurora Borealis, so there's a lot of color reflex up there. There should be a little bit in the water that I know now, but I didn't at the time. But I was really proud and still really like the way that the colors are reflected in the ice up here and the bears up here. And then there was a bunch of seals around, but I really liked the idea that on the long sea voyages, all the sailors talking about, you know, seeing mermaids and creatures like that are just sailors with scurvy seeing seals. So that's why these are kind of blocked out with just glitter. It's like, are they seals or are they mermaids? I don't know. I just thought that was kind of fun to play with. So yeah. So that is done with super thick layers of Stickles glitter glue. And yeah, I really still like this one. This one's definitely my favorite in the book. And one of my older favorites from 2022 as well. That is everything in Fragile World. Then we have Mythic World. I haven't done many in here. I think I've only done the 2. Yeah, so the first one in here is this Sirens page. And I really, really like how this one came together. This one was for Mermaid in 2024. I used Inktense to base and then Polychromos as well as Staedtler fine liners to shade, because there's so many tiny little flowers. I thought the fine liners would be perfect for shading. And then a little bit of metallic gold gel pen and of course Stickles on the body here. So she does, of course, shimmer. And I really liked that I did the water purple. I thought that was really fun. And having the purple bubbles instead of like usual white bubbles. Yeah, I'm just really happy with that one. And then the other one that I've done in here is another water creature. And this one is again based in Inktense and shaded with Polychromos pencils. It's a tiny little bit of is it Posca or is it a shimmery pen? I think it's a shimmery gel pen for like the dragonfly wings. But I really wanted to play with color reflex in this one. So and the purple is reflected in the water. The green is reflected in the water. The colors of the water reflected in the bones. Like lots and lots of playing with different watercolors and how what is around would affect the water. So I was really, really pleased with how I did that. It is very harmonious because it's mostly all blues. But I still really, really like that one as well. Then I don't think I've done anything else in here. I have not. And then the last one in the World series is, of course, Alien Worlds. And I love Alien Worlds. I've done a lot in Alien Worlds, and I think Alien Worlds may be one of my favorites. I love Mythomorphia. I love Worlds Within Worlds, but there's something very special about Alien Worlds. And so I'm also part of the Alien World Data Explorers group that Happy Catastrophe put together. So that has also encouraged a love of this book. So it's a whole bunch of us, and I'm talking a lot of us. I think there's like 50 explorers now in this group. And a lot of us are working this book in order. And we are pretending to be space explorers and discovering the story of this book. So a lot of people are starting from the start. I have skipped the introduction pages because, yeah, I'll get there eventually. But I started on the Lost Paradise because the planets are what inspires me. So we'll begin with the Lost Paradise. Now, I don't work each of my planets in order. I'm trying to work each of the 8 planets in order. So planet 1, planet 2, planet 3. But within each planet, I don't necessarily work the pages in order. It depends on what inspires me. But this is the Lost Paradise. So the Lost Paradise's color schemes is reds, oranges, purples, and browns. And the reason for that was I was thinking about the Lost Paradise and how bushfires, when they destroy a paradise, it becomes lost. but then nature finds a way to create that paradise again. And so I took inspiration from that with the bushfire colors, and so that was my primary color for the planet. So here I have used Inktense to base everything. There's a little bit of polychromos shading, Posca highlighting, and then a whole bunch of acrylic black paint with Posca stars and Mod Podge Extreme glitter. And then for my spaceship, there is also some Reeves iridescent paint around, which I use to represent the spaceship moving through space. So we all have Data Explorer names and spaceship names in this group. So I am Admiral Amy of the Galactic Glitter Path. And my mission is to go out and find the specialist, sparkliest, glitteriest special feature of each planet. So of course each planet has some form of glitter on it as well. Are we surprised? No. Glitter. Alright, and then we have our big arrival at the Lost Paradise. And so for this one, Inktense base, polychromos for shading, Posca highlighting, stickles for in the sky. And that's going to be a combo that is used all the way through Lost Paradise. So unless I add in an extra medium, it's those. And yeah, you can really start to see the color palette here. I tried to keep things harmonious throughout it. So the sky was always reds to oranges to yellows. If the asteroid belt was shown, it was always that teal. The solar giant comes up later. It is the yellows, and these little creatures pop up and they are the pink to purple reflected. We don't discover those ones. And like the mushrooms being pink, the trees being pinks and purples. Like I tried to keep things consistent throughout. I was also trying to avoid using green. There's a couple of touches of green, but I really wanted to keep the green to a minimum. And you can see here this galactic glitter puff as well. My spaceship is white, but a shiny white so that it reflects all the colors around it. So yeah, that is that page there. And then we have the solar giant, which was actually the first page I did in this planet and what I did when I first joined the group. And oh, I love it. So this is the one that got me started on, like, when I was trying to figure out the color palette. I was like, bushfires. So I started with that browns, and then I brought in the pinks and the purples and oranges and the reds for the sky and stuff. And then because of that, I was trying to think of what color to do solar giant. It's like, well, a bright yellow would work in here really well. Yeah, I still really like that. And then we have the Apex Predator. This one is definitely one of my favorites, and I think it made my top 24 list as well. So again, same as before, Inktense, polys, Posca, stickles. But this one also uses white gouache, which is how I shaded in this translucent effect. So of course this was sketched in to be opaque, and what I did was I used my Inktense and created blocks of color where color might be if this was translucent. So carrying on the trees, putting in some colors to represent the bushes or the different bits on the ground, things like that. And then I used the gouache to block it in and a white Posca to go around the edges of it to create that translucent effects. Because it does talk in the back about how the Apex Predator is like a super good at camouflaging and stealth and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, maybe it's translucent. And then we have the sentient being. So in the back of the book, because again, Kerby does describe each of these planets in quite a bit of detail. It talks about how this creature is connected through the whole planet by the roots, and it communicates with the whole planet, and these creatures around it also communicate with that. So that's why I kept them all yellow, and there's a little bit of a glow effect around all of them to represent sort of like the vibrations of them connecting and telepathically communicating. And since this was like the base of the trees, I was like, it kind of makes sense with the roots that it would be the same color as the trees. So that's why I started with the pink, but I graduated it up to the purple because I wanted a little bit more of a pop of purple. So again, polys, Posca, Inktense, stickles. This one does use a little bit of gold metallic gel pen as well. And then we have the True Friends. These ones are Sneaky Seeky. This one I thought was really fun because like these guys are hiding in the tops of the trees. So, you know, we've got the trees here, And we're really zoomed out here, and then now we zoom right into these guys. So I was like, okay, let's play with that. So this is inside the tree, so that's why it's dark purple for the background to represent all those trees. And then I did want to use a little bit of green here. I thought this was a good place to bring in a bit of green, even though I've been trying to avoid it. I did use the same gesso technique for the wings here to keep them sort of translucent, and added in stickles to make them also sparkly. And yeah, I like my little creatures here. I thought they were really fun. So that is the Lost Paradise, and then we have the Air Kingdom. Now this one was done before I joined the group at the, was it the start of 2024? I think so, maybe at the end of 2023. This was done before then. This was done during a hospital stay, so I ended up doing the whole Air Kingdom in hospital. And I just was like, cool, let's just do yellow. So I went through and did all the planets, skies yellow all at once, and then I did all the like planets bit by bit. So do like the first shade of peach on the planet, then I'm going to do the second one and do it across all the pages at once. So it helped keep me entertained in hospital. But it does mean, because this one only uses polychromos, it's a little bit lighter than compared to the vibrancy of the Lost Paradise. But also it's the Air Kingdom, so it's okay if it's a bit more ethereal. So yeah, primarily polychromos and Posca for this planet, and then I will mention if I add in other products. This one is a glitter gel paint, and of course the Reeves iridescent shimmer for the space, the ship going through space. And then we have the landing at the Lost Paradise, the Air Kingdom, sorry. So this one is, again, Polly's Posca. I don't think there's even any glitter on this page, which is kind of like, okay, I didn't find the glitter on this page, apparently. That's okay. Again, this was also done during hospital, so I had very limited supplies on me. So some of these don't have glitter, or I added in the glitter when I got home from the hospital. Like this one doesn't technically have glitter, although I might have closed the book before it was quite dry, and there's a little bit of transfer from this side. It's fine. But I do love these creatures. I think they're very pretty. So yeah, again, Polychromos Pencil and Posca. Polychromos Pencil and Posca with a little bit of stickles for the sun moon creation here. So this one does have some stickles on it. But again, Polychromos Pencils and Posca, a little bit of gold metallic gel pen as well for here. And then this one I did a little bit later on. I think I did a couple weeks after I got back from the hospital. But this one was done at a different point, because this one, it actually says in the back of the book that this is like the center of the planet and is sort of like the ruling body. So I knew I wanted to tie in sort of those peachy yellows, but I didn't want the whole thing peachy yellow. So I did add a little bit to the background, but I did go a lot more greens on this one and blues, and of course stickles. I do love how this one turned out. Okay, and then we're up to the Water Kingdom. So this page is prepped and ready to go on the plans for January. It's my last page in the Water Kingdom. My media for this one is the Liquitex Clear Acrylic Gesso with the Liquitex acrylic inks and other bits and pieces as needed, but that is the majority of this planet's theme and palette. However, I did have 2 pages that I started in this planet before I joined the Data Explorers, and I'd done them with other media, so we'll get to those when we get to those. But yeah, this one's not done, but it is prepped and ready to go. Then we have this arrival page here. So again, the Liquitex acrylic inks and gesso, glitter gel paint so that it's a bit sparkly. I did use just a graphite pencil to shade in on the white of the ship, and then of course the Reeves iridescent shimmer for the space zoomies. Yeah, really love this spread. I love the Water Kingdom. It's one of my favorites. Then we have this one here, which isn't a double, but I did work on it as if it was a double. Again, inks, gesso, glitter gel paint. Don't think there's anything else. No, there's not. And yeah. Really love how this one came together. That pop of bright green, and oh, I just love the Water Kingdom. It's so sparkly. I hope the glitter is picking up. I definitely found my glitter on this kingdom. Then we have these two here. Now, these are the two that I had done prior to joining the Data Explorers. And so these ones do use different media. Now, I do actually use ink on this one. This one is done with Inktense as a base. And then I wasn't quite happy with the Inktense, so I ended up doing a wash with the Liquitex acrylic ink on top. Amazed it did not bleed through. But I did that wash after I had finished shading everything as well, because it just didn't look right. And so I used a green Liquitex acrylic ink, watered it down, and shaded over the entirety of the whole thing. And it just added this green underwater glow to everything. So it was really, really great. The only thing I want to do is I do want to go back in here and lighten a lot of these bubbles, which at the time I really liked how light they were. But then I went and colored this one, and I used Prismacolor for this one, which, as you can see, creates quite a difference. So my thinking is that this one you are looking through someone's like glass, like maybe you're looking through a window or something, and you're seeing it a little bit more flat, whereas here you're actually in the water and you've got more of the texture of the water. Here you've got the glass on top. I thought about drawing in like a window frame and adding in like a piece of clear plastic, so it's like really clear you're looking through a window, and that's why this one is such odd texture. Like this still works with this, but this is a very odd man out. So yeah, I did think about creating a portal or window frame and making it so we're looking for a window here, just to account for the fact that this is so different. But because the bubble in the water is so light here, I want to lighten up the bubbles on this side here just to make it a little bit more cohesive, because this one is very odd man out at the moment. Right, that is the Water Kingdom, and then we haven't done anything in the Future Planet, we haven't done anything in the Rocky Baron, haven't done the Lava Kingdom, but I have done a bit in the Crystal Kingdom. Now, this one here is one of my very few whips. I don't have many whips now. I've worked really hard to get my whip list down, and I'm very happy about it. And this is one of my 4 whips that I currently have. I'm not in any rush to get to this one because I know eventually I'll make my way through the book and end up here. So I have done a bunch of crystal shading here. There's still a lot more crystals to go, and all the smoke and all the bits and pieces. The background needs another coat. Like, there's a lot of work here to go, but I'm happy with how it's progressing so far. So it uses Do an Inktense as a base, bit of acrylic paint up here, bit of Posca and polys for shading. That's it. Still a lot more work to go here though. And then we arrive at the Crystal Kingdom, and I have no protection sheet in here, so I need to add in here too. And yeah, this was one of the first planets that I did. The very first page I did in the book is coming up soon, so I started with that page, and I enjoyed the Crystal Kingdom so much I carried on in here. I love this kingdom. It's definitely my favorite. So again, acrylic, Do an Inktense for the base, polychromos for shading, Posca, and a lot of glitter gel for this background of the sky as well. And we have these two here. So this was the very first one I did in the book, and this was done for My Colourful Country's Life and drawing a blank, but I know Kerby is in the name. They had a collab where they worked with the whole community to get every page in this book coloured. The video got sent to Kerby just sort of as like a thank you for all his books. That was when it was announced that he was taking a break from releasing new books until Dark Fairy Tales. Of course, they released a bunch of collab books in between, so yeah. So I coloured this page for the collab, and I just loved it, and that's why I carried on with the Crystal Kingdom, because I was so enamored with the page and the kingdom itself and the book. And then I haven't done the rest of that, and I don't think I've done anything else beyond there. I have not. So there's still a bit of the book to go, but I'm really loving the progress in the book. Hoping to this year finish the Water Kingdom, finish the Future Kingdom, finish the Rocky Baron. I've still got to figure out what I'm doing for the Lava Kingdom, and hopefully get up to the Crystal Kingdom and make quite a bit of progress in Alien Worlds, because I freaking love it. Right, and then we have a few more collab books. So we have World of Color, and I have done this page here. I really love the shimmer of the background, like the iridescence of it. I wasn't sure how I was going to approach this page, and then I was playing around with some Anko iridescent watercolor, and I just started applying that in the background, and it's like all these browns and golds and purples, and I was like, oh, that purple will go really well if I did purple for the smoke and brown for the mountain. So I did. And it's like, actually, the dragon would pop in yellow here, so I did that. And then it's like, well, we could do a little pop of blue for the lightning, and boom, the whole page was done. So yeah, the iridescent watercolor for the background, ink tints for all the clouds and the shading in here, Posca to do the highlighting, and Liquitex acrylic ink in white to just add all the splatter on top. So yeah, really quite simple but very effective, and I really like how it came together. So that's from World of Color. Only one in there. And then I have Color Universe. And I have done one in here, and I think I just missed it. There you are. Flamingos. This one here. So this one I really wanted to play with like the water reflex and having that light coming through, but also that real like just illuminating the edges of the city under the water. So that was really fun to play with. So ink tints for base and Pablos for shading on this one, and then Posca for highlights. There might also be some polychromos in here too, but I know there's quite a bit of Pablos, especially in the water here. But yeah, no stickles on this one, which is surprising, but I don't think it needed it. And look, I get another chance at the sentient being on the opposite side, which is exciting. I love the fact I'm going to be able to do Summer Alien Worlds again. Like there's the Crystal Kingdom creature. Get to do it again, but try different color palettes out, which is going to be fun. And then I have Reflections, and I have done, look, there's another chance to do that one, but I've done this flamingo page, and this was chucking everything at the page, including the kitchen sink. This one uses watercolor, iridescent paint, Kaisercraft shimmer spray, ink tints, polychromos, Pablos, water-based markers, Posca, loose glitter, Stickles glitter, metallic gel pens, glitter gel pens. And I think that's everything. But it uses a lot. I had a lot of fun coloring this one though. And it's like a color palette that I don't really use a lot. I don't use a lot of like peach and orange and brown. But I really liked the combo together. Like, it's really harmonious. And it's shimmery and sparkly, and it was just a lot of fun of what else can I throw at this page. Sometimes just throw things at a page. So that is from Kerby Rosanes Reflections. And then we have Wondrous Animals, which is a Kerby selection one. This is my only uncolored Kerby. Yep. If you've seen 2023 and 2024's completed collection videos, you know how much of a change that is, because most of my books were uncolored before then. So to only have one uncolored Kerby is pretty good, and this was a purchase in 2024. So I'm pretty pleased with that. And then the last Kerby is Mythic Animals. This was the last Kerby purchased, and I have one page done in here, which is my redo of the Cyclops that I am much happier with. So this one uses ink tints and polychromos to shade. There's also some Pablo and Posca in the chains to shade. A little bit of glitter gel pen for this crystal up here. A little bit of Posca. So much more happier with this Cyclops, which is calling a Christmas Cyclops because I did it in December and it's kind of Christmassy colors. But yeah, I really like the red Cyclops and much happier with this version as well. And with that, that is every single one of my Kerby books in my Kerby collection. Oi, that took a while. Nearly 2 hours for Kerby. I knew he would take a while though. Kerby is my favorite, like one of my top artists. He's got a lot of my favorite books. I love to work in his work. I get itchy if I don't work in a Kerby each month. So yeah, I do a lot of Kerby and I knew this one would take a while, but I love it. And I hope you have enjoyed this video as well. There will be more videos coming out over quite a few days. This will take a while to go through my full collection, but I think we'll be doing Joanna next. We've got Mythic coming up. We've got all my hardcover books. We've got my Colouring Heaven collection. We've got Teresa Goodridge. We've got lots and lots of amazing artist books coming up, and I can't wait to share them all with you. In the meantime, if you need something to tide you over till the next video, as I said, the complete collection playlist is available, and I'll make sure I link it for you so that you can check out the previous version of my Kerby books and see just how much I've actually done in 2024. But thank you so much for watching. All the araha to you all. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye!